Okay. Okay. So the meeting is being recorded from this point forward. And then if you have that information and can put that up in the chat room, then we'll be able to see that and save that as part of the recording. Okay, Rosa's joining the meeting. So we're still having other folks joining us here.
Wendy's coming to Democracy Docket.
Okay, perfect. Hi, Dolores Atkinson. I haven't seen you, Dee. How are you doing? democracydocket.com. Got it. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Here's Rosa.
Okay. Hello, Ms. Ruth Darrow.
Hey, Ruth. Oh, she's muted.
She's muted.
Everyone's muted except me, my big man. I should mute myself.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. So,
Happy
Ruth,
holidays. Merry
happy
Christmas.
holidays. Ruth, you're losing your secretary. You know that, right? For your precinct.
Hopefully, if they're going to do it next time, I would hope that they
Hello.
put an announcement in the papers or somewhere on the news or in the radio so people would.
What is that?
Andrew, you've got background noise coming in there?
Nothing.
Nothing? I wonder
Someone
what that
else.
is.
Dead
Okay.
silence here. Not even a dog barking.
Okay. We still got folks joining us.
Yeah, but Ruth, if you can hear me, I just want to tell you, Christine Lambert, you know, she's been a Twitter friend of mine for 2 years. We're getting really close, and she has stage 4 lung cancer, you know, and she's moved, but she's going to be okay, but she's moving to Virginia. Okay, I just want you to know. So we got to find you a new person, right?
We got to find a lot of new people to get involved.
I know. And I want to, Vince, can I say something? I know I have less than a minute before it starts. I have decided that we got to get young people out there to do this for a number of reasons. And I talked to a 23-year-old woman today, and they have, Rosa and I talked about it. They have their ways of doing stuff, and we need to connect with them and explain that we want to help, but we're kind of fading out, you know, our age, and they're the ones that are going to have to deal with all this, deal with the planet, deal with all the issues going on. We can help them. We can be like mentors, guides, but we need people under 35, the young, and they've got to be out there and strong. Yeah. And so I got a lady today, you know, to join the Democratic Party, but she's in Mecklenburg. And I said, look, you know, we need you more, but you live in Charlotte, but, you know, we sure could use the help here. And I spoke to another one. I'm speaking people in their 20s. They're the ones that, if you remember, Rosa reminded me of it when Trump had his Oklahoma rally and nobody showed up. It's because so many people on TikTok, teenagers, high school students, young people bought every ticket and nobody showed. They have a way of doing stuff. And Rose is right. We don't do the work for them, but we advise them, we mentor. And I'm just convinced, I saw something on Twitter with a woman even older than I am with a sign that said, I can't believe I have to do this crap again. This was going to the Supreme Court, you know, about choice, being pro-choice. And it's just, you know, I've been doing this since I was 17. We're all,
Andrea, in the interest of time, because we are having a time limit.
Right.
One of the things that we have in our bylaws that we submitted to the state is the ability to have affiliate members, and that's anyone under 50 years old, and that could be as any voting age, 18, 19, 20.
Right.
So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later on in the call.
Good. I hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I want to hear. Thank you.
So we're still admitting people here, but I am going to try to be very mindful of the clock tonight, because I know it's holiday season and everyone's got stuff to do here. Thank you everyone for being on the call. We are being recorded, so we don't have to take notes. Carol Anderson, who is our secretary, is is on this call. Carol, this is my way of saying you don't have to take minutes here. This is going to be recorded, and we'll be able to get the minutes for you, so you don't have to deal with that. It's good to see your face and hopefully hear your voice, and welcome back.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vincent. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you everyone for being here today. There is a poll that's a part of this meeting. What we're trying to do is figure out what we're going to do for the next year, for 2022. Andrea's already filled out the poll, answered that. So anytime, you don't have to do it right now, but anytime in the next 45 minutes, if you can take the time to take a look at those suggestions, I believe there are 8 different categories, and click on ones that, speakers that you would like to see, not necessarily by name, but by category. This is something that came up when I had a meeting with Judy and with Mitch Hagler. We were over at Sharon Leroy's house a couple of weeks ago, if I remember right, Mitch. But you had said, what can we do, and get some categories together. So this is a way to codify that and make sure everyone can get some input, for that. So again, during the course of the meeting, if you see the poll, fill in the blanks, multiple choice, and we'll record that and go forward with that. I want to thank my board members who are here. Wendy Wood, who's our vice president. Thank you, Wendy. Wendy just went through some hand surgery. You can put your hand up, Wendy, so we can all see if the cast is still on. And no, you're not going to do it. Wendy, can you hear us? Frozen screen. Oh boy. Our secretary's here. I just acknowledged her. Ruth Darrow, our treasurer. In just a bit, we're going to have a treasurer's report in just a minute. Sophia Wilkerson, who was our past treasurer, who's also one of our birthday. Hey, happy birthday, Sophia! Birthday girl for December.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
You're 39, Sophia?
39 years old. Yeah.
29, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I'm a man. What do I know?
oh, stop. So anyway, I again, in the interest of trying to keep a time awareness here. This is strange, right? Normally in December, we have a Christmas party at Troutman's, a holiday party, and we have the Troutman singers, and we all gather around a table. And so here we are in 2021 around a Zoom call. So it's the new reality for a while. And now with this new COVID, Omicron, whatever they're calling it, I guess we might have to be doing this for just a little bit longer. But hopefully we'll come out of the woods here. And so for now, thank you all for being here. Martin Erickson is on the call. He's not showing his face yet, but Martin had earlier agreed to share with us what's going on with the gerrymandering and with the court decision, and what the implications are for our elected officials. And I know as much as anyone else, which is right now not a whole lot. So hopefully Martin will, in just a few minutes, will be able to join us. So the meeting is officially started. It's recorded. Again, this is our notes, our minutes. The minutes from last time are recorded in the former recording for anyone who wants to see that. I would like to turn the floor. Well, before we do that, let's start, which we normally do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll go ahead and lead it. If you're all on mute, let's just say that pledge to the flag together to remind us that we are not only Democrats, but we first and foremost are Americans. So I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We normally would have a prayer, but I would like to just observe a moment of silence for so many that we've lost in the last year. You know, that this is, you know, being a senior is just a constant reminder that we're in the end zone. So if we would just bow our heads for a second and remember Harry and well, everyone who's passed, Gloria Simmons, the list is too long to acknowledge. Thank you. Okay, and before we start with the formal meeting, I'd like to acknowledge the birthday folks. We just acknowledged Sophia, who's on the call, Martine Troutman, who's not on the call, who's I think 91 this Christmas, which is amazing, right? Janet, is your birthday? Your birthday's this month, right? Janet Millar, Carol Bentley, Lynn Claxton, who is moving on. She's not going to be in Cabarrus County, but if she's here right now. Robert McLeod, Marilyn Behringer, Shirley Chapman, Baugh. Did I miss anybody? I hope not. But let's all just say happy birthday to you all. Happy birthday. Hey, let's celebrate while we can. Did I miss anybody? Is there anybody's birthday who I missed? Yay, nay? Okay. All right. Well, with that in mind, let's go to a treasurer's report. Ruth Garrow, I'm
ready.
Okay, go ahead. Ruth Garrow.
Well, happy holidays, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and you can enjoy the holidays knowing that the Senior Democrats are in the black. We have $481.55 in the bank, and we've already paid our post office box for 6 months. And beginning in January, it will start our new membership renewals for everybody who joined this year. And I hope we can, each of us, try to find a couple people to invite to become Senior Democrats. We'd like to only have one fundraiser, and that be our membership. And we only charge $10 for membership. $5 goes to the state party and $5 goes to run our budget. So that's really not very much for all the quality programming you get, and you get to see Vincent every month, so it's worth $10. So anyway, that's all I have to say, and good seeing y'all, even if it is in Zoom.
Thank you, Ruth. And when you made that statement, I wish you could have seen the look on my wife's face. You get to see Vincent every month. And poor Maureen is saying, oh God, I get to see him every day. So.
All right, Maureen, you owe a lot more money.
There you go. Yeah, so anyone, if you send in money this month, it's actually, we're going to apply that for the 2022 year because it is a fiscal calendar year, January to January. So there are already a couple of people who have sent money this month that will be applied as membership for the coming year. So we have a head start on that process. As I mentioned earlier, there is a poll that is a part of this meeting. If you get anytime during the next hour or so, if you get a chance to please fill out that poll, multiple choice, and just let us know what kind of speakers you'd like to see in the next year. Glenda Green raised your hand. Glenda, how can I help you? What's your question?
The question is, I know that I just got involved in it this month. I don't mind paying for 2021 and 2022. If someone will send me the information as to how I get the money to you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so the information is in the newsletter, which is part of what that $5 goes toward, making sure everyone gets informed and stays informed on a monthly basis. Toward the very end of that newsletter is the post office box. It's post office box 1894 in Concord. Just address it to Senior Dems. Put a little card, a note in there with your name, your address, your phone number, and yeah, and your birthday.
Okay.
If
I'll go back
if you are 50 years young
or younger.
or beyond that, and you're a registered Democrat, you then qualify as a voting member who can run for elected office. If you are 50 years, less than 50 years old, you would join us as an affiliate member. So you would not be able to vote or hold office, but you could, if you're like, if you have somebody, a son or a grandchild, or somebody in your family that wants to participate, they can still be a member of the Senior Dems as an affiliate. So I hope that helps. And the same thing, just send that check on to PO Box 1894, which I think Ruth, you just posted up in the chat. So thank you for that. Okay, so.
Oh, and can I just say something? And
Yeah.
one reminder, the zip for the post office box is 28026, right?
Oh, okay, in Concord.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maureen.
Mhm.
Vincent,
Okay, yes, sir.
I have a question. Gail and I are both independents. We vote Democratic. Does that make us an affiliate?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
we
Yeah.
don't care. We're still going to join. So
Yeah, you're affiliate members. However, you're not able to vote or hold office, right? But you will get the newsletter, and you'll be able to participate in these Zoom calls and help us with our poll selection and all the rest of it. That pretty much goes with putting an agenda out there that you want to see carried forward, Michael.
yeah, no, it's there's good and bad reasons for both being either Democrat or independent.
Mhm.
And we both feel very strongly that we do more good being able to vote as an independent
Yeah.
in
No,
our situation.
Yeah, exactly, Michael. We understand. We welcome unaffiliated and even folks who are not even registered to vote, with the idea that hopefully there's enough in our platform that eventually you'll say, you know what, I align more closely with the Democrats than I do with any other party out there, whether it's Republican or Green or any other party that might be out there. I am really, really impressed with what the county party has put together in terms of the website that they created. I'm sorry that the third vice chair of the party is not on this call, but he did a great job of demonstrating what our platform is. Ruth Dara, who is on this call, was the platform committee chair a couple of years ago, and Brian Johnson went ahead and he put pictures to reinforce the platform. So, freedom from want, freedom from fear. And he actually has some pictures on the website that describe what it means to be free from want, what it means to be free from fear. It's basically the four freedoms of Franklin Roosevelt. This party, this Democratic Party that we belong to, has some very, very rich tradition that goes back a long way. And we as the seniors have to remind the younger folks of why we're Democrats, and let folks who are unaffiliated, folks who are unregistered, know that there's a reason why there's two major political parties, and there's a reason why there's several other parties that are out there. But why put your bet on with the Democrats? What is it that we offer as a party that you don't find in the other parties? And that enough said. If you take a chance, get an opportunity, Michael, or anyone on the call, to go to the new Cabarrus County Democratic Party website and then click on platform, I think it'll speak volumes to who we are. So I'll zip up there. I want to acknowledge that on this call, we also have several former board members, Dolores Atkinson, who had to leave our board because she is now a poll worker. And I don't see Ron here, but we had another person leave us last month, I believe, or the month before, Marcia McClellan. So there are two openings on our board. They are listed in the newsletter. We are recruiting a first vice president, and that person is responsible mainly for membership, and a third vice president who's going to be responsible for communications. We're also looking for people, 3 committee chairs, one to head up a membership committee that will help that first vice president, a second for social media, a chair for that, which will help the communications vice president, and then a third meeting which goes across the board, and a committee for events. So it's beyond the monthly meetings. What other kind of events would we like to host in the coming year, especially as we come out of COVID? I promise you, we're going to come out of this crazy thing. So if you would all be thinking about that, and be thinking about whether you wanted to assume one of those offices or someone that you know. But again, you would have to be registered as a Democrat for that. You'd have to be a member of the Senior Democrats. Before we get into the next stage too, I also want to remind everyone in the newsletter, there's a note there for ringing the bell. God bless Ruthie Wright Roberts for reminding us that Harry Turner left a legacy of ringing the bell every year, and that's in the newsletter. There's a sign-up form. We're asking folks, if you can, you or someone that you know can dedicate 1 hour on one day of the year. Next Tuesday, I believe, the whatever that date is, next week, from 10 o'clock in the morning until I think 8 o'clock at night. Maureen and I have signed up for the lunch period, which I think is probably going to be the busiest time. The other hours will be busy, but not quite as busy. So if you have an inkling and you're able to do it, or know someone who can help, ring that bell in Harry's memory. We would appreciate it. There's I forget what they call it, sign up genius form. It's something that Cindy Furtenbach put together. So you just pick the hour that you're able to help and put your name in there, and you're off to the races. Okay. Wendy, do you have anything to report from your standpoint as second vice president?
No, not for tonight. I've been too busy with, injuries and pets and the election in November. So I'm sorry, I don't have anything to report tonight.
Yeah.
Andrea,
you.
Can I ask Wendy a question?
Sure.
Actually, Wendy, I wanted to say congratulations to the county party for organizing the angel tree with the Salvation Army. I think that's such a cool thing that I would like and hope that whoever is on the board in the future continues that tradition, and that the senior Dems really do a big push behind that. So that's really the kind of outreach we want to see from the party, and congratulations.
Well, let me shine the spotlight on Miss Cheryl Brevard, who is hereby dubbed Mrs. Santa Claus for all future angel tree events. It was her idea and she carried it almost totally. She managed it, told all the rest of us what we needed to do, and it was amazing. So Cheryl, thank you very much for doing a great job on that. That was your project, your leadership. Great job.
I second that, Wendy, and it was fun going into headquarters last week and seeing you two ladies over there with those tons of presents that are going to make a lot of little children very, very happy, and their parents. So, and it's all in the spirit of giving, right? So whether you're ringing the bell or putting aside a present for a kid, this is beyond politics, right? This is what we do. Like I started the meeting, this is what we do, not because we're Democrats. We do this because we're Americans and we're neighbors. And the fact that we're Democrats, that's nice too. So, but
Well,
anyhow, yes, ma'am.
I enjoyed every minute watching Cheryl go through all of the amazing gifts that all of you brought. Cheryl, you might want to give some comments about that because you really had a good time. So.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for their generosity. And I could see that everybody else had a good time shopping for the kids too. And I just had such fun going through all of the stuff and packing it up and getting it together to take to the kids. So I'm quite sure that we put a smile on a lot of children's face. And on December 17th, anybody who wants to come out to the distribution center, we're going out there at 1:30 to help distribute the toys. I don't know if it's going to be our toys, their toys, whatever toys, but we're just going out there to help. And I think it's just going to be fun to see the smiles on all these children's faces. Now, I don't know what's going to happen or what they do. We're just going to show up and do what we're supposed to. So anybody who'd like to join on the 17th at 1:30 is welcome. And hopefully we'll get some pictures so we can put it on our Facebook page. So thank you all.
Where do people go, Cheryl? Where's the distribution?
It's 30 Branchview Drive or Street. It's in the Food Lion parking lot, shopping center on Branchview. And the place that you're going, it looks like an abandoned office space, but they did that purposely so nobody would know that there's a bunch of toys in there. It's not. It's right next to Family Dollar, and then there's a group of buildings, and it's the first door past Family Dollar, and that's where it'll be. Friday, December 17th at 1:30.
CVS Pharmacy is in that same strip mall.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Great. Thanks.
Okay, well,
Vincent, I
thank
think
you.
Andrew would like to say something.
Well, yeah, some people can't find the poll. Did you shrink it or is it, I know Judith Hagler, when I first got on, the poll took up my entire screen and I filled it out.
Yeah, good question. Thank you, Andy. So, so everyone on the call, if you go up to your, in the upper right-hand corner, I believe there's like 3 little dots and it says more. If you click on that icon, you'll see security recording polls, POLLS. If you click on the polls, that should open up the poll for you. And if everyone, if you see the poll, if you see it, can you raise your hand and let me know that you see it? Everyone who sees the poll, hand raised. Anytime during this call, you can fill out the poll. Basically, there's a series of questions. Like the first one is Parks and Recreations, their offerings. If we invited someone from Parks and Recreations to come to our meeting sometime in the spring, would we want to know about exercise equipment, arts and crafts, the walking trail, dance, fellowship, games, contest, or other? You pick as many as you want of those that are important to you. I know my wife, who's on this call, likes to go to line dancing at the senior center. I like to go on the trail behind the senior center. But whatever those things are of interest, or if we miss something. The next one down is healthcare. I know Sarah Deawood just joined the call, and Leroy could probably help us with this. In the poll, we want to know what's important to you guys. Free clinics, prescription discounts, Medicare wellness check, mental health, and so again, other. Law enforcement. We, a couple of years ago, we had the sheriff come to visit with us and the deputy police chief from Concord. But again, what are the local resources and the county resources, state resources that we might want to invite? Financial planning. We had in the past someone come and talk to us about financial planning, and he talked about the implication of the new tax laws. But what are others that we might want to consider? Local resources, library, museum, and the historical society, book clubs, special interest groups, senior-friendly facilities, and so forth. The historical society in Concord is pretty active, and they have several programs available. The library has several programs that are available specifically for our age population. So, who can we invite? Which of those categories? When we look at favorite charities, we put Salvation Army and CVAN and Red Cross and church groups and other. What are those that would be important? We just, by the way, contributed to CVAN at the recommendation of Margene Troutman. When we gave her her award this past year, she said that was the charity that she would like to donate to, have us donate to. In her honor, we did. And every year we have a different group once a year at this time of year that we donate to. I actually had a chance to go over to see what an incredible organization they are. Organizations, if we want to have the officers from the Rotary or Lions Club or United Way, Chamber of Commerce, and the list goes on, or other, let us know what that could be. Politics, kind of simple, and this is going to be a segue into the next speaker, into Martin's speech. But what are the things that we want to hear about? When we met with Mitch, we talked about redistricting and what that meant and the implications of that. But who are the candidates for local government and school board and assembly and so forth? So I can see that you guys, as we're talking, you're filling this out, because I can see the responses coming in. It's telling me how many, so far 8 of you have already clicked on your preferences going down there. So I can look at this and we'll have the results after this is over. How many people pick a particular item. And that helps when we get our membership events committee rather together, and when we get our membership meeting going, that's going to be helpful to them as they put forward an agenda for 2022.
Vince,
So
this
Martin,
is Rosa. Hello. Do you
yes,
hear me?
hello, Rosa.
This is Rosa. The submit button on the poll isn't working. And somebody else said they're having problems too. It's not working.
The poll's not working for?
Yep.
Did you get mine?
I cannot tell you. It's not identifying it by name, but so far nine people who were on this call have answered, have participated in the poll. But I can't tell you who the 9 are because that's blind to me. It just tells me the number of people per category. So for instance, I know that 1 out of the 9 of you said that exercise equipment was important. 3 of the 9, it said arts and crafts were important. Dance, 3 out of the 9. So Maureen, I'm assuming you're one of the 3, but you don't have to nod your head, and so forth. But so all I can see is the raw numbers. And when the poll is completed, we'll have those raw numbers. And it's just a starting point, because once we get the committees in place, hopefully by the end of this month, we'll be able to start looking at these different categories and lining up speakers for our monthly meetings. And then if we have additional meetings during the course of the year, we'll be able to give you guys what's important to you, and not just what's important to 1 or 2 people. Okay, so if you can't participate in the poll for whatever reason from a technology standpoint, Rosa, I will go ahead and print out that and then email it to everyone who's not able to participate here online. We'll do it after the fact, but it'll be the same question, then I'll just manually update that. So one of the things that I think is on everyone's mind is what in the world is going on with redistricting. We had in the last month, we had a candidate for U.S. House of Representatives on our call, Scott Huffman, who's running for I believe the 10th district or 13th, I forget which one it is. I think we're in the 10th now, I think moving it around. But my understanding was, and Martin's going to share with us a little bit more than that it's on hold somewhere in this. There's some court that said, no, stop. We're not accepting any new candidates. Everything is upside down, inside out. So Martin, can you share with us what in the world is going on and what we can expect?
Well, I can tell you what's going on. As far as what we can expect, you may know more than me. Yes, everything is absolutely frozen. We did have some filing for offices, but that has now been suspended. The primary has been moved from March to May 17th. And there will be a court hearing, 3-judge Superior Court panel in Wake County will be hearing 2 lawsuits that are contesting the redistricting that was recently done. This impacts, the court cases impact the US House, the North Carolina Senate, North Carolina Representative redistricting. However, all contests, including our county commissioners, sheriff, everything has been postponed. The primary's been postponed to May 17th. That trial is going to take place fairly quickly. In the first week of January, the trial will take place. The written opinion and ruling has to come out by January 11th. I have no doubt that it will be appealed to the Supreme Court, but they're supposed to receive the appeals in a 2-day period after the 11th, and then they will go ahead and rule. And the 2 outcomes are everything will stay the same, in which case the Board of Elections at the state level will open up filing and set those dates, or the maps will be thrown out, in which case it has to go back to the legislature to redraw them and then go through the process again. So that's the reason everything's been delayed 2 months, is to give enough time, if the redistricting does have to be redone, that it will move forward. Things to keep in mind: you can still register to vote right now. If you haven't registered, you can change or update your registration, and you can actually apply for an absentee ballot starting after the 1st of the year. Other things keep in mind: here in Cabarrus County, the Kannapolis School Board final election takes place during the spring primary. So the final election for Kannapolis School Board will take place May 17th, as well as primaries for every other office that is contested within the party system. Other things to keep in mind: we have had a few candidates file, but they have the ability to withdraw and file for a different office. It makes more sense at the time. So, we are currently in the 10th U.S. Congressional District, but who knows what will become after all this comes about. So I will keep this group updated during our meetings. And Vincent, I will also give you information for the newsletter for those who can't make it to the meeting.
Thank you. Martin, what
question?
U.S. congressional district are we in right now? Are we in 10? We were in 8.
Yeah, we're current. Yeah, they renumbered everything just to sort of keep us all on our toes. We are currently in the 10th, and as opposed to sort of being the western end of an east-west district, now we're at the southern portion of more or less a north-south district, which consists of Cabarrus, all of Rowan, all of Davie, the southern half of Iredell, western portion of Davidson County, and a little bit of Guilford, mainly in the High Point area. Guilford got split up between 3 different districts. But I wouldn't worry about that too much because it may not have any meaning after the courts and the General Assembly gets through with this. Ruth, you had a question?
Yes, I do. Martin, with all of this shenanigans being pulled by Republicans trying to get their people into influential positions for handling elections, how strong a position are the Democrats in to defend against challenges from them?
Okay, a couple different safeguards, and I sort of like the way North Carolina has this. Many states, there is an elected position at the state level that is responsible for elections. And that, whether that be some commissioner of elections, or in many states, the Secretary of State. In North Carolina, we have a different structure. We have a state board of elections, which is appointed by the governor from nominees from the two largest parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. The governor appoints 5 members of that board from the people suggested, and they hire an executive director who is responsible for running the election. So to the extent we are much more insulated from having a political takeover of our election system, even when we had a Republican governor, we had enough people that see running an election as being what they call a magisterial type of thing, duty. We follow the rules and we conduct the elections, and whoever wins, wins. And, anytime we want to go to this in greater depth, I can talk to you night and day about all the controls we have in place. So I feel as long as, well, I really do like Governor Cooper. So as long as we have Governor Cooper there, or Democratic governor, I feel sure that we're going to be in good place. And I'm also pretty sure that if we have a Republican governor under our current setup, we're going to be in a good place. The one thing that you would have to worry about would be any move by the legislature to rework how we handle elections and our current setup of an independent board with a hiring an executive director and setting that up. And actually, when it comes right down to it, the legislature can make many changes. Part of the reason we had some difficulties with constituting a board was that fight between Governor Cooper and the legislature on some of the things they did after he was elected, but before he took office. But right now we're in a good place, and I think we will continue to be in a good place. Does that answer your question, Ruth?
You're on mute, Ruth.
Yeah, I just have one follow-up. With regard to each of the precincts, to make sure no shenanigans go on at the precinct level, are Democrats in pretty good shape with regard to that?
Yeah, we are in good shape on that. The only issue that comes in on that is under a Democratic governor. Traditionally, in Cabarrus County, we have a Democratic chief judge at each one of the precincts, a Democrat judge, and a Republican judge. It's interesting that that's more tradition than anything in the code. Like in Wake County, they have a certain amount of judges that are either independent or Republicans in the chief judge position. I will tell you that I have great respect for all of our judges, both Democrat and Republican. They do follow the rules, and we would, if we found anybody, Democrat or Republican, that wasn't following the rules, our board would remove them and replace them. So really, people tend to fear what's happening inside the voting enclosure and the counting of the votes. My main worry, and I often said, the real hacking of the elections sometimes happens right here with the information that's being put out and being consumed by the voter before they get into the voting enclosure. So to me, that's the real concern that I have, more than anything that happens after somebody steps in and starts to cast a vote. And Wendy, I think you had a question?
Yeah, I did. And I could talk about this all night too, because there are some really valuable and important safeguards that are in effect in our system that I don't think are in effect in all other systems. The fact that we have paper ballots, the fact that at the end of the night, election night or any early voting night, our computer voting systems are not online. The chief judge with the two judges watching him, and we sign off on that, the numbers have to be perfect, pulls the thumb drive out. And so nobody from, China or what were the Republicans saying? Italy can hack into our voting system. So that's just little silly stuff that we can take off the table. But if the General Assembly, if they regained what's called a supermajority, so that they could then override Governor Cooper's vetoes, I think the North Carolina General Assembly on the topic of redistricting have proven themselves to be quite radical. So I don't quite feel as safe that they might not try to do something like has been done in Georgia or Arizona or Texas, where they are writing themselves the ability to overturn election results if they want to, or they're going into Fulton County and taking out Democratic election boards people. I worry about that, Marty. So we are 3 House seats away and 2 state, these are state House, state Senate, 2 state Senate seats, 3 state House seats away from the Republicans being able to regain a supermajority in North Carolina. And that worries me more than anything else. Can I sleep well at night or not?
Well, you sort of get what you vote for. And, as a group, showing the value of having the ability to have a veto. Some recent legislation that was vetoed included the change in when we could accept absentee ballots. They tried to, or recent legislation said that the ballot would actually have to get into the Board of Elections as opposed to just being postmarked by election day. Again, we are required by federal law to accept overseas and military ballots postmarked much later than the 3 days. So if somebody wants to talk to about election integrity and it has to be in the hands, are you going to say, don't you respect our military? And do you not want to count their votes? We have no choice on that. That's federal law. The other one that some people got a little bothered about is that we had several civic-minded organizations that gave grants to help us with our extraordinary expenses. We didn't take, the state, I think, took some of these grants, and some other localities took these grants. We did not, but it helped provide things like pens and PPE and stuff like that for the past election. Some people were upset with that. They weren't upset enough to say that everything was going to be fully funded, but they were upset with private organizations helping to fund the election and passed a law against, or excuse me, put up a bill against that, and that was vetoed by the governor. So it is important if you believe maintaining the ability of the governor to veto items, then that is important to move that ahead and make sure that the legislature is composed the way you want it to be composed.
That's the plan. Thanks.
Thank you, Martin. Martin, part of my outreach is I'm trying to schedule what I call house calls, since we can't meet in a large group. But 2 weeks ago, Sarah Diebler was kind enough to invite me over to her house with Mitch Hagler, and we had a little conversation about what we'd like to see. And one of the top things on the agenda was election integrity, and to have what you just described, where you said you could talk on forever, but we wouldn't want you to do that, but we would love to have you talk on for at least a half hour to help us all understand why we should be comfortable with what's going on. And I don't want to speak for Mitch. He's on this call, and I'll let him talk a little bit about the thinking behind his thought process as to what we don't know. We assume that we know the inner workings, but the reality is we don't. I don't, for sure. Why we should be comfortable knowing what you know about the election integrity, because with all of this stuff that went on with January 6th, with all of the big lie, all of us, I think, are a little uncomfortable. It would make us feel a whole lot better if we knew that, at least here in Cabarrus County, that things are right, that things are under control, and it's a fair election. And that's, again, not something we can do in the next 20 minutes, but if you could set some time aside, that's one of the things that's on that poll that we put out there. But Mitch, I don't want to speak for you. Do you want to share a little bit about your thoughts when we got together with Leroy and Sarah? You're on mute right now. Can you unmute yourself? And you know how to do that? Little unmute button. And Sarah, you could also join in because you were part of that conversation. You both have to unmute yourselves though, so we could hear what you have to say.
I don't have anything to add. It's just that I've worked at the election and I still don't know if everything is on the up and up. I mean, just being there doesn't make me privy to how we safeguard people's votes. Because I hear in other states particularly that there's all this fraud and everything. So I just question, why, what does Cabarrus County do to make sure that everything is okay? So that's what I think we could have a program about to try to educate all of us.
Mitch, thank you very much. And that's something I think is really important, because something that's really going to eat away at our whole system is if people don't have confidence that their vote counts, and in aggregate, whoever wins fairly at an election. And that's really, that's my biggest fear, more than the election being impacted by fraud, is that people will lose confidence. It's one of those things that, people claim there's fraud, make people less confident, and then they say they need to change the rules because of lack of confidence in the elections that they in fact engendered. So I'd be more than happy to talk to that and go into some of the inner workings. I'd also suggest when we get into actually doing the election, particularly around absentees and such like that, all of our meetings of the Board of Elections here in Cabarrus County and all counties in North Carolina are open to the public. Come and see how we actually process the votes. And one of my goals, and we have an agreement of our County Board of Elections on this, is to work with the communications department of our county to see how more broadly get the word out and try to increase confidence in our elections. Let's talk about fraud for just a second. There's always fraud, but we're talking about in the handfuls, 1, 2, 3, 4, and very seldom, if ever, in fact, nothing that I've ever seen in our elections say that we have isolated incidents of fraud that could impact an election. So I won't say that it's never happened. There have been instances in North Carolina years ago for offices like sheriff, or in the western counties, or down in good old Bladen, soil and water commissioner. Now, so very small type items that might be an issue, but I could talk to you about, and I'd be more than happy to talk to the group Vincent at any time. And we can break this up into sections, what we do to safeguard the elections, and what we do here County should be what's done in counties all across the state. And Sarah, did you have a hand up?
Yes, I'm thinking that we should approach this idea about fraud in a positive way. I think that we, instead of saying, oh yeah, this, we want people not to fear fraud. And I think we need to be positive about why we don't have fraud in Cabarrus County or what we're doing. So I think we need to do it in a positive way instead of treating, fraud is negative, of course, but I think that, Cabarrus County should be very proud of themselves for not having had any problems in the past. So I think it would be good to be in a positive light when we talk about it in the community or amongst ourselves.
Yeah, and talk about how we can detect and prevent fraud from having an impact on our elections.
Right.
There's two hands up, Glenda and Michael. Both have
Glenda,
your
go
hand
ahead.
up.
I'll wait on Glenda.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to ask a question. First of all, I want to preface it by saying, no, I do not want to be out there helping to count the ballots. But I would like to know how many Republicans, independents, Democrats are there helping to count the vote. Is there something in writing somewhere or what? I'm new in this thing here. Mike.
Okay.
I think I have an answer for her.
Okay.
I worked the last national election at one of the polling places, and we are monitored constantly throughout the entire day by a crew of one Democrat, one Republican, and one independent. They constantly monitor what everybody is doing. They monitor the votes going in. Now, we were a polling place that did not have absentee ballots. They were not handled by our section, but all of the live voting was monitored every moment that we were open.
And let's talk about absentee. Yeah, and one-stop voting is handled in very much the same way as election day voting. Absentee by mail is processed by your board, which currently has 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and anything that we do, we pair off. Let's say, for instance, military votes can come in on a form that won't go into our machine. So we have to, quote unquote, remake the ballot onto a ballot that will go into our paper ballot that will go into our machine. And we pair off. One Democrat and one Republican calls the ballot. On the other side of the table, one Democrat and one Republican marks the ballot. So everyone's checking each other. When we had the recounts this past time with the Sherry Beasley Supreme Court Justice recount against with Paul Newby, everything was done with teams of 4, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. So everybody's watching everybody, and we have checks and balances all the way through. So we do have bipartisan representation. The one thing that we probably don't have in this state by definition is heavy involvement of independents, but we do, we are open. All of our meetings and all this activity is open to the public. And we had lots of observers this past year for both the recount and processing of absentee ballots all along the steps. So we had both individuals who just were interested as well as party representatives. Also on election day, the parties can appoint observers to sit inside the polling places and observe what's happening. So we try to keep everything in the sunshine, keep everything open, and really when it gets right down to it, it's a lot of process, following procedure. And as long as we do that, we're going to be in a good place.
Well, I applaud Cabarrus County for doing that.
Thank you. Bobby Haig and Ruth Darrow, you both have your hands up.
Hello, everyone. I'm a chief judge, and one of the things I wanted to mention was having enough poll watchers. At the polling place where I was, we had no poll watchers, none. And when things happen, in our case, the computers went down. So we had to use paper ballots for about an hour until we got the machines up again. We had people wondering whether we were doing something illegal. If we'd had poll watchers there watching every move we made, we wouldn't have had anyone question what we were doing for that hour. So what I suggest is that if you have concerns, sign up to be a poll watcher at any of these polling places. We need you, because every polling place does not have poll watchers.
The only thing, and what really runs against that, Bobby, and I have no problem with having them, but the number of people that are politically engaged who either have an interest of being a precinct official helping to run the election, or being somebody handing out materials outside the polling place, or inside being an observer, tends to be a lot of the same people, what you'd think. And the question is, what can we do to get more people engaged and willing to have the time to play a role in this? And, again, we've run into the same issues. It's people that want to be politically active in Senior Democrats or other organizations, but have a conflict between that or the county party and being a precinct official helping run the election. And then, so what it is, yes, I agree with you, Bobby. The question is, how many heads can we have and get more people involved so that we fill some of these slots?
Well, that's just it. Most of the people that I had to pull from, because, I'm allowed to pull the people that I want to work at my polling place. And the majority of the ones I had to pull from were Republicans or independents. I didn't have the Democrats that I needed. And that's what's really troubling. When you're looking at your precinct and you're trying to find people to work the polls and you can't find a Democrat, that makes it hard. Now, for my polling place, most of the people that worked with me were independents. I had the required Democrat and Republican judge. I had one Democrat and the rest were independents.
And we have other precincts that are the reverse of that, Bobby, that we have a hard time getting Republican representation in. To a certain extent, that's where our procedures take place. And, the fact that we have at least the supervisory judges there, making sure things are working right, that's our control there.
Yeah.
And, and I really do respect all of our workers, regardless, Democrats, Republicans, independent. They all have their hearts in the right places and to get the election done in the right way.
Yeah. I see Ruth has her hand up, and Wendy also. Ruth, you had your hand up first. What was your comment, your question?
I just have one area left of concern, and that is in the technology arena and the software that reads the ballots. I know technology goes down and we have to get software updates. And it's usually in those updates that mischievous things can happen. And I was wondering if we do an audit of paper ballot versus machine count, is there any way to make sure that what the machine tabulates is what was on the paper?
We have two controls on that, Ruth. The first is we test all the machines after they have been programmed. It's called logic and accuracy testing. So we mark up ballots and we have a routine that tells us how to to make sure that we're testing the entire ballot. We then know what we're supposed to get. We run it into the machine, we get the tape out and see, does it match? So that's the first thing. And that's done on every machine before we send it out to the polling places or the one-stop area, or use it to handle our absentees by mail.
Great.
After the election, and our voting systems as well as the software are vetted both at the national level and by our state board of technology people there. After the election, randomly selected are 2 precincts. And one time, one of the precincts selected was one of our large one-stop sites this past year. So it was a very large sample. And those are taken, and we have the two teams, a Democrat and Republican on one side of the table, a Democrat and Republican on the other side of the table. The first side takes the actual paper ballot and reads it and says, what is the vote in the particular race that's been selected? And on the other two people, they each have a tally sheet, and it's like grade school, 1, 2, 3, 4, cross. And every time they do a cross, they say tally, and they make sure everything works. And they run that through, and that comes out 100%. Last several times, and every time I've seen it, it's been 100% basis of what the paper ballots say and what our machine tape said for those precincts. In addition to that, the state board is piloting something called a risk limiting audit, which goes in and, as opposed to focusing on just 2 precincts, they focus on across all the precincts and tell us which individual ballots to pull, and get that information and say with what level of assurance is the result that we had equal what the machine said. So they're continually working on auditing procedures. And that's the reason I thought when Arizona did their audit, even as flawed as it was, sometimes if you're doing everything, you will get up some slight discrepancies. People don't mark their ballots quite the way that the machine can read them properly. But again, it is tenths and hundredths of a percent difference in the results. So a lot of effort was put out in Arizona to really not prove out any allegations of fraud.
Wendy Wood, you had your hand up. Did you take it down, or you still have a question?
I was just waiting while Marty was finishing responding to Ruth. I just wanted to add 2 things. First of all, when the governor, depending on the party affiliation of the governor, that determines the balance of the election boards. So this is important. If it's a Republican governor, it's going to be 3 Republicans to 2 Democrats. If it's a Democratic governor, it's going to be 3 Democrats to 2 Republicans. And I will add to what Marty has said and what I think Sophia works. I mean, I know Sophia's on the board. My experience also has been that the Republicans, and I've worked as a poll worker. I've been a judge, not a chief judge. The people that I've worked side by side with, Republicans, have been absolutely of the highest integrity. I trust them explicitly. So I'll just say that I like having the 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans, but I trust all the people that I work with. The other point that I would make is that I've worked as a poll worker, I think 3 or 4 election cycles. It is the best training you can get. Any precinct person can work as a poll worker. They cannot be an officer of the precinct, but they can be a member of a precinct team and get the training and work elections. And it's not, there's a lot to learn. It makes you very nervous when you do it the first couple of times because it's so important. that the people who are running our elections do it correctly. It's important work. We lost, I think I heard Vincent talking about, we lost Dee and we lost Marcia from the Senior Dems board early on, and I hated to see them go, but it gave me a warm feeling of comfort to know that they were working at the polls. And so any of you who are not precinct officers, let me tag on to what Bobby said. We need more Democrats to be poll workers. And I highly recommend getting in there and getting trained, doing the work, because that will give you a great, great sense of confidence in the way our elections are run. I'm not ready to hand over. I still want our Democratic governor. I don't want our General Assembly to gain a supermajority so they can override Democratic governor's vetoes. I'm not that comfortable, but in every other level, I am completely comfortable in the way our elections are run, especially here in Cabarrus County. So with that, but more
And Vincent,
yeah.
Ruthie,
and
right.
if I'm-
Ruthie,
Ruthie?
yeah, take yourself off mute, Ruthie. Can't hear you. Unmute. There you go.
Well, I have a couple of questions about what Wendy just said and a point to make. As a
Yeah, go ahead.
retiree from the court.
What's that, Ruthie?
Sir?
What's that, Ruthie?
I said I have a couple of questions and a point to make about what they were just about this whole conversation.
Okay.
As a retiree of the court system, the lady that's over, I'm sure Marty knows who I'm talking about, the lady that's over the Board of Elections, Carol Link Souls. She's a lawyer, and I knew her as Carol Link. She's Carol Souls now, and she took over for the at the Board of Elections officer after Linda Grist retired. Long time Linda Grist, and now it's Carol, and she's a Republican, but I have all faith in her. She is very good integrity. We had great experiences with her. A delightful lady, as sweet and helpful as she could be. So I have all faith in her. I have a longtime friend who retired from the Register of Deeds office, who told me just recently that every single day you hear about crazy voter fraud, dead people voting. That's BS. She in Cabarrus County anyway, because every single day, Linda Grist, and I'm assuming Carol Souls does the same thing. Every single day, she would come down to the Register of Deeds office and collect all the death certificates, every single one. And of course, everyone who had died, they took them off. And if they died, lived in another county, from another county, they sent it to their home county. So I believe that dead people are removed from the polls, at least in Cabarrus County. Can't speak for other counties. And the other thing she told me, my friend who worked for the Register of Deeds office, she worked her polls for 12 years as a poll worker. I don't know what you call it, not handing out, not electioneering, but a poll worker. She said that they like to get people to work the polls who are from that poll. Now, I don't know if that's still true, if it's always possible. They like to get people who are from that election,
That precinct.
That precinct, right. Because if you have enough people there, if somebody comes in and tries to give her another name, since we don't use voter ID, somebody there will usually know them. There's usually something, and I think that's a good way to work it, to have people that are from that poll. If I worked in my poll, I've been in this precinct for, since 1998. Before that, I was in Kannapolis for all my life. So, and I know so many people. So that's another, I think it's a safeguard. People from that precinct who know the voters are coming in. Between that and the register and the Carol Souls going in and collecting those death certificates. I don't know a lot about voter fraud, but I know this: North Carolina's only had like one known case of it, and it was in Mecklenburg County for about 2 or 3 years ago. You remember that? The guy running anyway, and one charge of it. In all my years in the criminal court system, I never saw one case of voter fraud come through court. So I honestly don't think
he
it's
was
a
a
problem.
Republican.
Yes, he was. It was in
Yes,
that
he
Mark
was.
somebody case in Mecklenburg County. You're exactly right, Andrew.
Rosa,
So anyway,
Rosa
that's
Sims has,
just my 2 cents worth.
thank you, Ruthie.
One
Rosa-
thing I would like to insert here is that it's really valuable to have people working in the elections on our local Board of Elections. We had one member this past term who was a very active Republican in their party, who came onto the board, and we worked him to death because we had thousands upon thousands of absentee ballots come November. And I bumped into him on filing day, and he has since left the board. But he was complaining about somebody in Raleigh saying that we had 8,000 fraudulent votes here. And he said, look, I've worked this. And I told him, he was absolutely wrong, because there's no way that while he was working on the board that 8,000 votes came in fraudulently. So, and this was a very, very pro-Republican active person who now is talking about how secure our elections are. So that, involving people really gets towards trying to dispel some of this fraud, the fraud items. Wendy, I think you had your hand up.
Just a quick comment. The best way to trust our election systems is to go be a poll worker. So.
Oh, man.
And remind us how to do that, Wendy.
They are signing people up all the time. If you call the Board of Elections or go to the Board of Elections, they will welcome you with open arms and sign you up for the next training sessions for this, the next election. And, you meet new people, everybody brings food on election day. You get up early, you go to bed late. It's a long day, but it's fun. And you learn how it works and you trust it. So highly, highly recommend it.
I think,
and you can go to the website of the State Board of Elections, www.ncsbe for stateboardelections.gov, and there's a form there that you can fill out, and it will come down based on your county, and you'll be placed on the list. I will say that we will probably use fewer people come the primary because of some of our turnout considerations. But come November, we're always looking for a lot of people.
Martin, this goes back to something that Mitch Hagler kind of started the conversation that, this could be a whole meeting or even two, and we'd look forward to talking with you about how we can get that out to everyone. I'm watching the clock. I didn't realize we're running quite as late.
Yeah,
So,
I've got a question that sort of piggybacks on what you were just saying, Vince. I can appreciate all the safeguards we have in place in Cabarrus County and how we do things to make sure there's no election fraud. But the election fraud that's being talked about nationally didn't happen in the first place. So my question is there some work that the election board is doing or that's happening statewide to get out information about how safe our elections are, to get in front of the lie that there was election fraud? Because it's not that there's a lie that's out there, and we've got to get in front of the lie.
That's what I was just saying earlier about being positive about this. We need to have an outlet where we can have, maybe on the radio station, we could have not a debate, but informational session, and have the public listen to us. And so we don't want the Democrats to say, well, there's so much fraud, I'm not going to vote. Let the Republicans do that. And so we need to be very positive with our message. And I liked what Wendy and Ruthie and Martin.
That gets to, are there any PSAs that we're doing to get the word out about how our elections are actually handled so that there is not fraud? Like, get in front of it before they start talking about it.
Right. Positive.
Well, again, that gets back to what communications you watch and read. Depending upon the TV networks you watch, you may get an entirely different impression. However, one of the things that we suggest is go back to trusted sources. At that same site, ncsbe.gov, there's all sorts of information for those people that like Twitter. They're very active on Twitter with their Monday myths, where they talk about a myth and what the true portion is on that. They have all sorts of information coming out. And as I say, I'm going to be working with the county. It's one of the things, sometimes bad information drives out good information, but all you can do is keep trying to come out with good information. And Vincent, I think you were trying to take the meeting back because I've taken over your entire meeting.
Actually, you are a significant part of this meeting, and I appreciate your input, Martin. I really do, and everyone that's contributed here. I'm trying to meet with everyone one-on-one or a couple of people at a time until such time as we get back together in person. We'll meet at your house or in a coffee shop or whatever. I know Ruthie and I and Andrew are going to try to get together in January. So keep posted. If you have ideas, we don't know unless you tell us what they are. And I will do all I can to get with each of you, like I said, over a coffee shop or somehow, some way. And this poll that's still active up here in this Zoom call, if you're not one of the 9 people that have just taken that poll, if you could in the next couple of minutes do that. If not, I'll capture the poll and we'll send it out to you after the fact. Wendy, you have your hand up.
I just wanted to let people know I posted the link for the SCSBE, how to become an election official link in the chat for everybody. If anybody wants to grab that before we close up tonight.
Yeah, and it will be also saved because we're recording this session. So for my remaining officers, Wendy and Carol, Ruth, I hope you're not going to sign up right now because we need you as officers.
I've already been there, done that. So
okay, thank you. I thank everyone for being on this call.
Last thing, Vince, somebody was having, and I'm just won't be long. Somebody was having problem with the survey. You have to actually answer each and every question. So you've got to put something in each category, and then it'll let you submit.
Thank you for sharing that. Did everyone hear that? So okay, great. Yeah, if you're doing the survey, if you could just take a moment to do that and make sure you complete each and every one, and then that will populate that.
That's kind of dumb. If you don't care about some of those categories, why would you have to answer them?
Just put other.
Click other. Yeah.
Click other, and then you're covered.
No, I just won't do it.
Oh, Mitch?
That's okay.
Okay.
Be nice.
That's all right, Mitch.
Vincent, can I trouble this group just for 1 second?
Sure.
Mitch Hagler and Carol Anderson's husband and I are part of a charitable group called the 100 Men. We are not really affiliated with any church or anything for that reason, but once every quarter we get together, we all contribute $100. That's just the men. And that money is voted on at that meeting and given directly to a charity in Cabarrus County. And as Mitch can attest, we need some more men. So if any of you might be interested in being a contributor to this, you can put forth charitable organizations. They'll go on a list, they'll get voted on. But we do the vote the night that we actually collect the money, and it goes directly to them. And we've only contributed to 2 organizations so far, and our next meeting is in January. But if you would have any interest in that, contact either Mitch or Sarah Diebler or Bob Anderson or myself, and we'll be happy to explain exactly what it's about. And I mentioned Sarah because she knows what we do.
Michael, I will reach out to you or Sarah and try to get something in the next newsletter, the January newsletter, about that.
Yeah, we only have 45 men right now, and we're trying to get it to the 100.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. Is there any other order of business? Anyone on this call have something that you want to share for the good of the cause? Ruthie, you put your hand up. Yes, ma'am.
Next
Yes,
meeting
Ruthie.
day.
What's that,
Next
Ruthie?
meeting day, what is that?
The second Tuesday of the month.
Yeah, I just
whatever
like
the-
for you to announce it.
Yeah, the second Tuesday of every month. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about is if there are other days as we go into the new year, if there are other days of the year, of the month rather, that you guys would be more comfortable with. Since we're doing this online, we're not necessarily locked and loaded to the second Tuesday. We have it right now because we've been doing it forever. But I know that
30
on
years.
yeah, but on the second Tuesday of the month, as an example, I believe the Rotary Club has their meeting. The NAACP meets on the second Tuesday. There's other groups that meet that are in conflict with ours, so we never get the full number of people that we might have otherwise. So I would like to, take a poll, not right now, but I'll be reaching out to each of you. And once we get our committee set up, to see if during the next year, we can think about moving to another day. I know Wednesdays is usually church night for a lot of people. I don't know what I don't know, but I know that all the people on this call and beyond our total membership can come up and say, okay, maybe we'll switch it to Thursday night, second Thursday of the month. We have to be mindful of what the party's doing, what the other affiliates are doing and so forth. But that's one of the things. But for right now, Ruthie, the second Tuesday of January, 6:30, typically 6:30 to 7:30. We ran longer. We weren't planning on doing that. But thanks for everybody for hanging in there. Maureen, you have your hand up? No? Okay. I thought I saw your hand up. You're downstairs, so I can't see you in person, but that's okay.
No, I don't have my hand up.
Okay. So I'm going to actually end the poll and we'll share the results and let's see how that works. I've not done one of these polls before, so this is new to me. So I think maybe something will show up on your screen.
Yeah.
That shows you how many people answered. 14, it got up to 14 people in some cases. So this is going to be a starting point. This is not an end point. This is a starting point of what we hope to do in the next 12 to 14 months. And again, we'll share this information with the committees once they're formed. Again, all of you are invited to participate in those committees, to chair one of those committees. I invite all of you to think about being an officer with the senior Dems. We are the tip of the sword, ladies and gentlemen. And that's something I got from Harry Turner, my mentor in this whole process. We are the tip of the sword. So I want to thank everyone for being on this call. Enjoy the holiday season. There's several holidays in there in December and January. Hanukkah, I guess, just ended a couple of days ago. Christmas is coming up, Kwanzaa, and so happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and so forth. Thank you, everyone. This is being recorded. The recording will be saved to YouTube. We'll have it available probably in another 24 to 48 hours if you want to share it with people that were not able to be on the call or you just want to recap what we did. And of course, this will be our official recording for the purpose of minutes of the call. So thank you. If there's no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. Let's just see if I can remember how to do that.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.